So, welcome to our brand new lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover that day's newspaper in a very short span of time, within 20 minutes, so that your time doesn't get wasted and you revise all the important current affairs or news items that were discussed in today's newspaper. Now, we are going to discuss 5th July 2024's 24th newspaper. All right. So, let's take a look at the important topics, important news items that were featured in today's newspapers. All right. These are the important topics that we will discuss. Okay, number one, there was this article in the explained section of Indian Express regarding skimmed milk powder surplus. Now, Indian dairies and Indian dairy farmers produce milk powders and there is a surplus of their production. So, what are the consequences of this? Is it problematic or is it good? We'll discuss that. Then, recently, Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit concluded on July the 4th, on 4th of July. So, what is the significance of this organization? We shall discuss that. Recently, Ministry of Agriculture came out with a scheme called Climate Resilient Agriculture. Actually, they haven't come out with a scheme. There are news reports that they might come out with a scheme related to climate resilient agriculture. So, what is climate resilient agriculture? What are its important key points? We'll discuss that. And there is this news going on for quite some time now that India wants yoga to be a part of 2036 Olympics. Why 2036? Because India wants to host 2036 Olympics. Okay, so what is this news item all about? How can yoga qualify to become a sport at Olympics? We'll talk about these things. Okay, so without further ado, let's start with our first news item, which is skimmed milk powder surplus. Now, what was in the news? Indian dairy farmers are facing new surplus problem of skimmed milk powder. Okay, cooperative and private dairies are holding an estimated 3.25 lakh tons of SMP stocks at the start of production year that runs from July to June. Okay, now the question is, what is SMP? What is skimmed milk powder? So let's talk about that. What is skimmed milk powder? Look, cow milk contains 3.5% fat and 8.5% solid, okay, which is not fat. So 3.5% fat is there, 8.5% is our solids which are not fat, and rest is liquid. Okay, with the same being 6.5% fat and 9% solids non-fat, SNF for buffalo milk. So for cow milk, these are the statistics, and for buffalo milk, these are the statistics. Now, because milk is a perishable food product, perishable, that means it needs to be stored under very low temperatures. Okay, so therefore you cannot stock unlimited amounts of milk. If you have produced a lot of milk, you cannot store it unlimitedly. Okay, so that is why the solids like fat and non-fat solids, okay, these are actually stored after converting into powder form. Okay, so milk cannot be stocked. So only solids like fat and SNF are storable after separation of the cream and drying of the skimmed milk. Okay, now fat is stored in different forms, butter, ghee, and all that. Solids non-fat is stored in powder form. Okay, this is known as powdered milk. In powder form, this is sold separately also, and at times farmers keep this powdered milk with themselves when there is lean season of milk production. When cows are not yielding that much of milk, then they use this surplus powder milk to sell their milk. Okay, now there are two seasons in dairy production. One is lean season. Lean season means cows are not producing that much milk, and there is this thing called flush season. Flush season means that cows are producing a lot of milk. Okay, so during flush season, when cattle and buffaloes produce more, dairies convert the surplus milk they receive into butter, ghee, and powdered milk. Okay, SMP. Make sense? So skimmed milk powder. All right. So when there is flush season means production of milk is very high. Then they convert milk into solid form. One is SMP powdered milk, and the other products are butter, ghee, and all. Okay, but what has happened? The thing is that flush season is different in north and southern parts of India. Okay, in case of Maharashtra and South India, flush season is from July to December, and in case of Gujarat and North India, flush season is from September to March next year. Okay, now flush season is about to begin, but already there is a lot of supply of SMP. Already dairies have a lot of supply of SMP. So there is already high supply of SMP and flush season is about to begin. That means more SMP will be generated and there is this oversupply of SMP. Now, what is the problem? With the new flush season taking off and expected to peak after September, when more milk would flow from the udders of the buffaloes too, the problem of surplus may worsen. Already there is high surplus, and the problem of surplus will worsen. Now, why is surplus bad? Some people might think surplus is good, but surplus is bad because there is a limited supply of milk powders and there is limited demand for milk. When supply exceeds demand, well, then prices start to drop. And when prices drop, well, farmers and dairies stand to lose. Experts say that if farmers don't get remunerative prices, they will not feed their animals properly, which will impact milk production next year. So, supply next year would fall drastically, demand would be high, and there will be milk inflation for consumers, which is problematic, right? So, we need to ensure that farmers get good prices. But there is high supply of SMP. So, what are the proposed solutions? Well, the government can provide export subsidy on SMP. This will promote more exports, okay, more exports of SMP. All right. So more exports would happen, farmers would get good price. The second would be that this extra SMP would be diverted towards foreign markets. So there would be shortage of supply in the domestic markets, prices would recover and farmers would get good price. Another solution can be that government, like in the case of wheat and rice, should create a buffer stock for milk also or SMP powder also, which will support prices for producers now and protect consumers from future inflation. Okay, so government should create a buffer stock for SMP and procure at right prices, good prices from farmers, dairy farmers, store that SMP, and whenever there is shortage of supply, well, government can use this from its buffer stock to take care of shortage of supply. All right. So this is the entire issue. Just remember what SMP is. Just remember what is what is flush season and all that. Okay. Now let's move on to next news item, which is significance of SCO. We have discussed Shanghai Cooperation Organization before, but since its summit got concluded on 4th of July recently, therefore various news articles were in the newspapers regarding the significance of this organization, especially significance for India. So what was on in the news? July 4th, the final day of SCO summit in Kazakhstan's capital Astana. Indian External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar held talks with his counterparts from SCO members Tajikistan, China, Russia, and in this summit, the 2024 SCO summit, a new member has been added to SCO, that is Belarus. So now SCO has in total 10 members. Okay. Now let's talk in brief about SCO, what Shanghai Cooperation Organization is. Look, initially it was known as Shanghai 5. Okay, it was Shanghai 5 was an organization formed in 1996 by China, Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan. Then in 2001, June 15, 2001, this Shanghai 5 organization was repackaged as Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and a new member was added, Uzbekistan. So these 6 countries, China, Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan, are known as founding members. Okay. After that, in 2017, India and Pakistan were added. Iran was added in 2023 when the summit was held in India. India had the presidency. And now when the summit is being held in Kazakhstan, in 2024, a new member has been added, Russia's neighbor, Belarus. Okay. Belarus is Russia and Ukraine's neighbor. So it has been added to SCO. This is SCO's logo. All right. By the way, SCO's secretariat or headquarters are in Beijing. China has a lot of control over this organization. Okay. Now, why is SCO significant? Let's only talk about significance for India. What is its significance for India? It is significant for China and Russia. Why? Because they want to create an anti-West bloc. They want to create an anti-West bloc because their relations with USA and Western Europe are not that good. Both China and Russia are suffering from poor relations with the West. That is why they want to create an anti-West bloc which can rival Western imperialism, as in their words. Okay, these are not my words, these are their words. Anyways, why is SCO important for us? First of all, it allows India to participate with Central Asian countries like Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan. And these Central Asian countries have not had particularly close relations with India since their formation in 1991. These Central Asian republics were formed in 1991 and they have not shared good relations with India since then. These Central Asian countries are significant from the perspective of India's energy security because these Central Asian countries are rich in oil and gas. So India can take care of its energy security from these countries. Plus, these Central Asian countries can provide India connectivity to Russia and Europe. So it is important for connectivity also. Plus, this organization is very important for all the countries who are fighting from terrorism. Okay, counter-terrorism. And SU has created a counter-terrorism institution as well. SU's regional anti-terrorist structure, RATS. SU has created RATS. RATS actually assists members in preparation and staging of counter-terrorism exercises. It analyzes key intelligence information and gives it to its members. So RATS actually helps SEO members to fight terrorism. So counter-terrorism, energy security, connectivity, and engagement with Central Asia are few important dividends that India can gain out of SEO. All right. Now let's move on to third news item, which is climate resilient agriculture. Now, let's see what was in the news. The Union government plans to unveil a framework to promote climate resilient agriculture in 50,000 villages located in climatically vulnerable districts. So first of all, government will identify climatically vulnerable districts. In those districts, it will identify climatically vulnerable villages. And in those villages, government would try to promote climate resilient agriculture. Now, what is climate resilient agriculture? Well, it is an approach that includes using existing natural resources through crop and livestock production systems to achieve long-term higher productivity and farm incomes under climate variabilities. Look, this is the proper bookish definition. But what is climate resilient agriculture? Look, climate change is a reality now, and we need to adapt to this climate change. Okay, so we need to practice agriculture that is resistant or tolerant to climate change. Because of climate change, droughts are becoming quite frequent. Therefore, farmers should use less water intensive crops, right? They should improve their irrigation methods. They should use rainwater harvesting and all that stuff. Now, all these adaptations are part of climate resilient agriculture. Because climate change is a reality, farmers need to alter their agricultural practices so as to improve their productivity, so as to protect their farming operations. Okay. Now, this initiative that the government is about to launch, it hasn't launched yet, but it is about to launch, is part of National Program on Climate Resilient Agriculture, which Ministry of Agriculture will launch as a part of its 100-day agenda. First 100 days, this new government's first 100-day agenda. Okay. Now, what is the proposed plan? Though the government has not yet released that plan, but different government sources are saying that we'll include these four things in our national program on climate resilient agriculture. What is the proposed plan? First of all, government will identify 50,000 villages to be selected after climate vulnerability mapping. Only those villages that are most vulnerable to climate change will be identified. These 50,000 villages will be from 310 districts in 27 states. In fact, UP alone has 48 districts in this project. So UP alone will contribute 48 districts out of this 310. Okay. Plus, 2,000 new crop varieties shall be identified which are resistant to droughts or floods. That would be given to these 310 districts. Okay. Plus, this project has 5-year timeline for the initiative. Okay. That's about it. So just be familiar with climate resilient agriculture, what climate resilient agriculture is, and what is the proposed plan. Okay. And our last but not the least news item, yoga to be in 2036 Olympics. Look, the sports ministry has identified 6 sports from India that India wants to include in international Olympic events. These 6 sports are, first of all, yoga, then T20 cricket, kabaddi, chess, squash, and kho-kho. So government of India or sports ministry actually wants these 6 sports to be included in international Olympics, especially in 2036. Now, why have we chosen 2036? Well, that's because Prime Minister Narendra Modi has expressed his desire to host 2036 Olympics. We want 2036 Olympics to be held in India. And International Olympic Committee International Olympic Committee says that whosoever or whichever country hosts Olympics in that year, well, that country can include its local sports in that year's Olympics. On that basis, the Tokyo Olympics featured karate. Okay, So International Olympic Committee gives the host nation the right to include one or more sports that are popular in the region. On that basis, Tokyo Olympics included karate, and on that basis, if India is to host 2036 Olympics, then India can also include some of these sports in 2036 Olympics, and India is vying for, or India is pushing for, yoga to be included in that. Now, what is the criteria set by International Olympic Committee for inclusion of any sports? First of all, International Olympic Committee gives the host nation the right to include one or more of its sports. But International Olympic Committee has also framed certain rules which allows these sports to be included. Or if those sports, the host nation sports, do not fulfill these criteria, well, they won't be included, no matter where Olympics is being held. Okay, so what is IOC's criteria? First of all, IOC says that the sport must be governed by an international federation recognized by International Olympic Committee. And for that, India has created this International Yoga Olympics Committee. Okay, and they have given the application to International Olympic Committee to approve it. Okay, so first of all, that sport should have an international federation. Then a certain level of popularity and participation worldwide should exist. Then that sport should adhere to values of fair play, Olympic spirit, and non-discrimination. It must comply with World Anti-Doping Code. Anti-doping means using performance-enhancing drugs. Okay, and last, it should be practiced by both men and women. That is not a problem with yoga. And in at least 75 countries and 4 continents, that is also not a problem for yoga. Okay, so this is the criteria which any sport of the host nation should fulfill to be included in International Olympics. All right. And with that, we conclude today's session. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm sure it is adding value to your preparation. Though if you'll become more consistent with this lecture series, if you will make it a part of your daily routine, it'll add way more value than you can even imagine. All right. That's it then. I'll sign off. I'll conclude this session, and I'll see you next time with July 6, 2024's newspaper. Thank you, everyone.